I'm Idiotech, and this is my review of the Turing Test for PC. The game retails for $20 and is brought to you by Bulkhead Interactive and is published by Square Enix. So what is the Turing Test? Well, it's a first-person puzzle platformer. If you think Portal, and you think the Talos principle, that's kind of what this game is. It takes a lot of influence from both games. Now, the game is set on Europa, which is a moon surrounding Jupiter. You play as a character named Ava. She is a member of the ISA, or International Space Agency. You're woken up from stasis by an AI named Tom, and you're told that your crewmates have disappeared. Your goal is to solve 70 unique puzzles and find out what happened to the crew. It's difficult to talk about this game and why there are 70 puzzles to solve without talking about the story somewhat. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to try and avoid spoilers as much as possible in case you are actually interested in picking this up. Essentially, all you need to know is that the crew doesn't want to be found, and they have created a series of puzzles that only a human being can solve. And this is where the Turing Test reference comes in. So that gives you some context as to why you're solving these puzzles. Eventually, you find the crew and you discover the story. Now, the story is delivered to you by Tom, primarily, who narrates over the game, very similar to GLaDOS in Portal. At the beginning of each puzzle, I guess, or zone, you are given a little piece of dialogue, and Ava will interact with Tom, and the story slowly unfolds that way. You can also find tablets and things like that throughout the game that will also enlighten you as to what's going on. So, what's good about this game? First up, the visuals and overall production quality is quite nice, although there were some reasonably low resolution textures in certain areas, especially on tablets. And that made it a little bit difficult to read exactly what it was they were trying to get across to me at times. But for the most part, the visuals are pretty solid. The voice acting is actually really good. Tom especially is the one you'll be interacting with the most. And he conveys the logic processes and the thought processes of a machine quite well.
This is the problem with the Turing Test. A computer can pass the Turing Test, having convinced a human they are having a polite conversation, while the computer has no idea that a conversation has taken place.
It really does add a lot to the experience. If you were just solving the puzzles, it would be fun, but having that story delivered to you and that interaction with that AI character makes the game a lot better, in my opinion. The next good thing about the game is its evolving mechanics. In a game like this, you could get bored pretty quickly if they don't continually change things up. The way it works is this: you have a gun, it can store and shoot energy. That energy goes into certain sockets, and those sockets do things. So it might trigger a lift, or lift up a hatch, or open a door. And you have to manipulate this energy in a way that allows you to progress to the exit and open that door. And you can also find cubes throughout the levels that you can place on pads that will open doors and things like that. And later on in the game, you can control cameras and other machinery, and it starts to really evolve. There's also a number of different types of energy that behave in different ways. So yeah, the game mechanics were really interesting, and they continue to evolve all the way up until the end, which I really enjoyed. A game like this, and many games that try and do this, they fall into a trap of not continually evolving their mechanics, and this game does not fail to do that, and I found the game fully engaging from level 1 to level 70, so that's really good. Finally, the story. Now, it's not the best story in the world, but it certainly was engaging enough to keep me pushing through puzzles I found difficult, and that's important in a game like this. The reason I loved Portal is A, it had great puzzles, but B, GLaDOS was very entertaining, and the story pushed me to continue when I felt frustrated or stuck. And it does the same thing here. At the end of the game, you are faced with a choice, and it is about the dichotomy between being a human versus a machine and what it means to be alive and things like that. You know, these are not concepts we are unfamiliar with, but the delivery is quite good, and it does leave you with a choice, and it leaves you thinking, which is a nice thing to see. So what's bad about this game? Okay, well, first up, it has very little replay value. There's no leaderboards here for speedrunners. There's no mod support for people creating their own puzzles for each other to solve. That's a big problem because the game is only 5 to 6 hours long, depending on your skill level. Now, for $20, that's fine. But it's kind of a one and done experience. Once you've discovered the story and you've solved the puzzles, there's really no incentive to go back and do anything else. What you're going to get is a short 5 to 6 hour experience that's nice and tight, that's well developed, but once you're done with it, you're kind of done with it. Another problem I had was there's these extra puzzle rooms in the game. And you don't have to do them, they're entirely optional and you get achievements for doing so. However, if you do choose to do them, it kind of spoils the ending of the game. After the first couple of additional puzzle rooms, I knew exactly what was happening in the story, which is kind of unfortunate because I think the story could have been better paced if they hadn't done that. Otherwise though, those extra puzzle rooms were pretty fun, and they were a lot more challenging in some cases than the rest of the game. Finally, my complaint is low difficulty. Now, this will vary depending on who you are, of course, but for me, I didn't find the puzzles particularly challenging, at least until I got into around Chapter 4, Chapter 5. From that point on, it did actually start to make me think. I had to take my time and try and work out exactly what was going on, and there were 3 puzzles in particular that I remember spending at least 20 to 30 minutes on. So that should give you some indication of how short these puzzles are, because the game is only 5 to 6 hours long. Overall, I had a really good time playing the game. It's short, it's concise, it's well designed, it looks nice, it sounds nice, and the mechanics kept me interesting, and the story was engaging enough to push me through some of the challenges. But the replay value isn't high, and it is a short experience for $20, and so that may put a few of you off. Should you buy the game? In my opinion, if you're a fan of Portal, if you're a fan of the Talos Principle, you like those kinds of games, I think it's a must-buy, I honestly do. It has its problems, it's not a perfect game, but it's fun. It's a fun, short, concise experience that I had a great time with. If you're the kind of person who doesn't like those mechanics though, this isn't going to change your mind in any way. If you found this review helpful or useful in some way and you want to support my channel, you can like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you want to support me financially, you can do so on Patreon. You'll find a link in the description box below for that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.